Innerdelight, and welcome to another Joyful Connections episode. I'm delighted to be welcoming back Kip de Moll. Hi, Kip.
Hi, it's wonderful to be here.
Yay! I would love for you to share a little bit more about Zen and the Art of the Midlife Crisis, your book that you wrote after experiencing a few things in your life not working as you had
Yeah.
hoped they would. Hoped they might. Tongue tied.
I wish I could say that was me doing that. Uh, I was just saying the book's sort of the men's version of Eat, Pray, Love, but without the romance and the exotic travel and big budget. It's it was my intention to try and contribute. Um, Not a lesson, but just an experience to share an experience of trying to get along in life, normal life. How do we take a look at ourselves and make the mid-course adjustments? It wasn't going to work for me to get a big, fancy sports car because I couldn't afford it, and I'm not interested in, really, women who are my daughter's ages. It was about really recognizing that my dissatisfaction and struggle was internal, and accepting the responsibility for that. So the book is really about acknowledging the struggle in the presence and the dissatisfaction. It starts out with some pretty tough stuff and is kind of depressing. But I try and flavor it with the fact that by recognizing this unhappiness, I recognize, rather than succumb to it, I recognize there's something I can do about it. And so then the book becomes a look back into not only just my relationship with my own parents, mostly my father, but goes back generations and really recognizes that there's a lot of suppressed creativity in my family. That the message was always suck it up, go to work, do your job, take care of your family, and just let go of the passion to draw. Lots of painters in the family, to do those creative things, and I was absolutely repeating that pattern, only without any success. I have parents and grandparents who have pretty impressive resumes, and and I was falling way short. So it's double whammies. I looked at trying to really focus in on what I could do to make myself happier, and then hoping out of that happiness that then I would attract more happiness around me. Seems to be working pretty good. You're here.
Oh, that's so
You seem
cool.
pretty happy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a fascinating thing. I think especially for men, would how's your perspective on this? I think for women, we tend to connect in with one another, talk about our feelings much more. Yet for men, that's not such a cool thing to do. Huh? So you learn to suck it up. And you were
Yeah.
sharing that you went to a men's group, and that really supported you in connecting with your inner wisdom.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I think we're in such a transitional generation, because I was raised in a very macho. I never did a dish in my life, until I was 23 or 4, and living with a woman. In my family, right, in my upbringing, my sisters went into the kitchen, and my dad and I sat at the table and played chess after dinner. It was, I did the yard work, and the roles were very defined. And my mom said, when you grow up, you're going to have a woman who will take care of you like I take care of your dad. And it didn't really turn out that way. The 60s happened, and we all, women became a lot stronger, And we as men were left with, like, do I open the door or don't I open the door for this woman? Do I, are we making, do we have combined income, or do I bring home everything? Um, and and so, on that societal level, there's lots of ambiguity, and more as how we relate to the women in our lives is really, we don't have role models about how to be sensitive. What I've discovered is that there's a lot of men who are struggling with this, and who are tuned into their passions and are tuned into their feelings and are able to communicate, that at least their highest priority is a relationship. Whether they're good at it or not, that's what we all want. And we're struggling with the vocabulary. These words, we had no modeling for how to talk about it. To ourselves, much less out to any other men, and then to the women in our life, the risk is too huge. So it's a real challenge. Fortunately, there's this group in particular. There are men's groups all around, but I joined the Mankind Project, mkp.org, and they set up this thing called the New Warrior Training, which is part boot camp, part soul sensitivity, touchy-feely kind of stuff, and Sioux, Indian sweat lodge, multi modalities of self-discovery, and sleep and food deprivation to really get you off your center. And it's powerful. It's really powerful. And there's 32 men who are being initiated into this weekend, who go through the hero's journey, basically, of really going deep within and discovering, the central core, and then bringing it to the surface in a roar of affirmation. Most of the other guys went through really huge epiphanies, and my biggest challenge is letting go and really succumbing to it. I was not really overtly transformed in that moment, but I came away really determined to do the work and to change my life. Actually recommitted to my marriage at that point, and was really, determined to embrace, the gifts of life. Both the marriage and the business fell by the wayside, and so I'm living differently than I expected 4 years ago. But the awakening is powerful and transformative. I think that men, this particular group gave me and a lot of men, I think there's about 50,000 men who've gone through this experience around the world. And, there's a vocabulary that we're able to look at each other now and really, do some deep processing. There's hope for the next generation. The message I get out of it is that I've changed my relationship with my own son, and instead of trying to put on this really strong, successful attitude, but being unable to hug him, we're working in the opposite way of, we're side by side, and there's days I tell him, I'm sorry, I can't pay for that. And, thank goodness he's 18 now. He's got a job, and he contributes. And we are sharing the journey, as opposed to me telling him how to be and who to be and what I expect of him. I'm too busy working on myself, and it's a dialogue that we share together. So we actually have been ski instructors together for the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And we both have our little groups, and we, ski side by side with our 8 5-year-old kids behind us. And it's quite an amazing role that we've taken side by side. And so, he's got a completely different rule set that he's playing by. And, if I make no other contribution in the world, that's that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So, what would you say to other men who are maybe at a point in their life where they realize that things are not working and doing more of what isn't working isn't going to make a difference? What would you suggest to them?
I think you need to turn inward. I used to throw more and more cash at my business, and I was convinced that, well, it's just, I don't have enough cash flow, and I didn't have the right system in place for that thing, and I had external answers for all the problems, and if I just fix this, if I just fix that, and that was true of my marriage as well. Ultimately, the real difference comes when I said, it's me. This has been going on too long. I've done all the fixes and it's not fixed. So what's going on inside me that is keeping this struggle going in my life? And it's a scary, scary thing to do. And yet, there's sort of ends up being no other choice. Like I said, it was going to kill me if I didn't stop and really start asking the hard questions and really looking for an answer that was a lot different than just throwing more money at it.
Mm.
So my advice is to step aside and look inside and really pay attention to the real human being in there, wounded, hurt, scared, whatever issues there are that are going on. You can't block them out with drugs, sex, success, money. All of those things are only going to just kind of build some walls up and keep you from really getting to that place. And eventually, those walls aren't going to support the roof and it's going to collapse.
Yeah, and that seems to be where we're right in the midst of at the moment. It's like old structures are not working.
It's either pay attention or succumb.
Yeah.
It's just, and the universe is delivering more and more intense messages that you got to wake up. And it's happening in this country with the Occupy movement that's been going on. It's a national movement that we're going. Let's really look at our system. It's not working, and what can we do to make it more equitable? And out of that, which is chicken or the egg? Is it because individually we're all waking up, or is it because we're all waking up and going, wow, we don't have to follow these rules because they're not taking us to a good place.
I think you mentioned a key word there, and that's we.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's my story's not being put out there by ego, and I'm not sitting here talking to you because I'm like, hey, look at me. It's just simply sharing, and the more open I've been about sharing, the more people are opened up to me to share themselves, and that's the we, and that's what makes life worth living.
Yeah, beautiful. So inspiring. And, there's probably more ladies who are watching these Joyful Connections episodes than the men. However, those ladies know a lot of men. So
That's right.
Ladies watching.
That's right. I've had some women buy the book, as gifts for the men in their life, or the brother that they know is struggling. There are, it's just getting the word out that you take the risk, you show your vulnerability, and it's actually appealing. It's the macho, I can withstand anything is not working anymore.
Awesome. Well, I love that you're being open about this and sharing and really letting yourself be seen in this way. I find that very inspiring, and I'm sure that everyone's watching would agree with me on that one. So I'd say for anyone who would like to purchase your book, they can go to your website, kipdemoll.com, KIPDEMOLL.com, and we'll find more information about you there. So I look forward to sharing with you more and hearing about some of your other hats that you wear, because there's quite a few.
Yeah.
So thanks, Kip, and until the next time, many joyful blessings.
And to you too, Tina. Thank you.